Chapter 5 Soul Search. Brian Rode graduated from a university in Maryland. His parents had lots of trouble. He had no guidance in how to go about life. He was smoking pot and shooting the breeze with a few of his friends from college. He came up with an idea to go to Grand Canyon and do some soul searching to get into real life. He had been soul searching there at Maryland but hadn't quite found it. One day he packed his clothes and a sleeping bag and put them in his car with a license plate SOULS1. He asked his other friends, but they were content with smoking pot and listening to Nine Inch Nails. So he left without them. He drove early in the morning and reached Illinois around 10 o'clock at night. He stayed with his family friends at a little town just south of Rockford called Clare. Next morning he drove again and stayed at Kansas City with his friends. From Kansas City he went to Boulder and hung around out there for a couple of days. From Boulder he finally reached to Grand Canyon. He stayed in Grand Canyon for a couple of days. He slept in his car and ate junk food. He admired the view of Grand Canyon and later he decided to go to Las Vegas. In Las Vegas he partied all night and slept all day. After a month, Brian was broke and tired. He couldn't afford to sleep in a rooming house. His car didn't run, it needed timing belt. So he parked his car on the street and slept in there. He pawned his clothes and a watch to eat. He wasn't thinking straight and he needed some food and some booze to fall asleep. So he junked his car for $100. He ran out of that money and just roamed around the street. He lost a lot of his weight. He ran into some homeless people. They showed him way around to find food and shelter. He managed to gain back some of his strength. He went to a church and meditated. He realized that he had made a big mistake and lived life irresponsibly. One afternoon, he was roaming around the street with his head down. He heard a guy yell at someone, so he looked up. It was a Chinese man yelling at a white guy in front of a restaurant called 18 Chinese. "You are showing no interest to work here. On top of that, you disobey me, so I'm going to have to let you go." Brian thought this was a perfect opportunity to get a job, so he went inside the restaurant to talk to the owner. "Excuse me, sir." "Yes, what can I do for you?" He noticed Brian's untidy appearance. "Sir, it's not what you can do for you. It's what I can do for you." "What's that?" "I would very much like to work here and help you out." "Why is that?" "I know you need someone, and I desperately need a job, sir," said Brian with sincerity. "That's what the last guy said. Have you got any experience?" "Yes, sir. I was a cook in a Greek restaurant in Maryland." "But can you cook Chinese?" "I'll learn, sir. I'm a quick learner." "That sounds good. When can you start?" "I'll start right away if you give me some food." "All right. You get 1 meal break and 2 bathroom breaks. I'll pay you $6 an hour. You work 8 hours a day for 4 days a week. Here, fill this out." Brian filled out the form and handed it to the Chinese guy. "All right, Brian, I am Lung, Mei Lung. Go pick out your choice of food from the buffet table, and then I want you to wash dishes inside. Tomorrow, you clean yourself and I'll let you cook," said Lung. For a Chinese guy, he spoke good English, better than some Americans, thought Brian, and headed toward the buffet table. It's been a month Brian had been working at 18 Chinese restaurant with Mei Lung. He'd been doing well. He saved $300 and put on 20 pounds. Lung was impressed with his work and became good friends with him. Lung started to teach Kung Fu and Tai Chi to Brian early in the morning before they opened up the restaurant. Lung learned Kung Fu and Tai Chi in China and believed that it would relieve stress from work and life. Lung came to the U.S. as a student. He drove a bus and saved up money to buy a restaurant. He finished his master's in philosophy while he was managing the restaurant. He couldn't find a decent job, so he continued his restaurant business. He did pretty well for himself and married Jenny Lee, an American-born Chinese. They had 2 sons and a daughter, Descartes Long, Plato Long, and Maya Long. Descartes Long was studying law at a university in California, and Plato Long was studying theater arts in local university. Maya Long was into drugs and ran away from home with local troublemakers. After a few months, Long was impressed with Brian's work and made him a manager. He extended his dining area and brought flowers and oriental decorations. His wife, Jenny Long, decorated the restaurants. "It is glamorous, Mrs. Long. This is the kind of restaurant I always wanted to own," said Brian. "Thanks. We would not have made this far without you, Brian." "Of course, you needed a white man's touch," Brian kidded. "Yeah, I don't care what everybody says, but white man can cook," said Long. Everybody laughed. One afternoon, 3 men dressed in rough jeans, half-leather jacket, which showed their arms, came inside the restaurant and ate lunch. After they ate lunch, they walked into the counter where Long was standing. "Hey, Mao Zedong, do you know who you are?" said the guy with the rattlesnake tattoo on his left arm. "No, sir. I'm a rattlesnake, and these are my boys. We are the local laws. We are here to collect business tax." "I pay tax to IRS. I don't pay tax to local laws. It is not required." "It is required now. We want whatever you've got in that drawer." "I'm sorry, I cannot do that, sir." Rattlesnake pulled out a gun and stick in Long's face. "Here, Mr. 45.45 says that you can do that. Now open that goddamn drawer and hand them cash to me." Long opened the drawer and stared at Rattlesnake for a few seconds. Then he took out the money and handed it to Rattlesnake. Rattlesnake took the money and put them in his pocket. "Now listen, if the boys in blue come by, you don't need to mention that we were here for a collection. If you do, you'll never see your little Maya again." Brian walked out of the kitchen and saw 3 men walked out, and Long was very serious and sad. "Hey, Mr. Long, what's the matter?" Long just stared at Brian. "Nothing," said Long in a low voice. "Come on, Mr. Long, talk to me. Those guys didn't pay you. Why didn't you call me?" "No, they paid," said Long in a tense voice. "Listen, man, you have treated me like a son, and I have respect you like my own old man. I know you're hiding something. If you don't tell me, I quit." "All right, I'm not okay. Close the restaurant." Brian walked and closed the restaurant. Long poured a cup of Black Label for himself and poured one for Brian. "I never told you this, but I have a daughter," said Long, and took a long drink. "Where is she?" "I don't know where she is. She ran away from home 4 years ago. I never saw her after that." "Why did she run?" "She was into boys and drugs. Chinese women don't do that. I punished her for that and told her that she could never go out again until she goes to college." "I didn't know she would run," said Long with tears in his eyes. "I am sorry, Mr. Long. You could have told me. I would have understood," said Brian and breathed deep. "I know, but I wanted to forget about her," said Long and took another long drink. "So did you see her today?" "No, but I heard her name." "Where?" "Right here from those 3 lowlives." "Do they have her?" "They do or they don't, I don't know," said Long and poured another long drink. "What did they say?" "They said if I report them to the police, they'll harm her." "Was that all they said to you?" "Yeah, that's all they said after they robbed the money from the cash drawer." "God damn it, why didn't you call me?" "You wouldn't have been able to do anything. They had guns." "We have to call the police." "I can't. I still love my daughter, and I don't want her to get hurt." "What's her name?" "Maya." He took out his wallet and dug her picture and showed it to Brian. "That's a pretty name, and she's very pretty. What are you going to do?" "Nothing. I can't believe you. You can't let people walk all over you like that." "My hands are tied."